Hi everyone, I'm Oliver from Blendtuts.com, and in this tutorial I will show you how to create this scene, alright? It's a very basic shape, very basic modeling, but the interesting part is the material creation, because we have some interesting effects going on with this material. And then at the end we are going to make a little compositing and handling a little the noise in the compositor, alright? So let's go for it. Let's start with the modeling. Delete this cube, add a new cylinder, and by default it should have like 32 vertices, but I've been practicing this before, so it's by default for me in 6 vertices. Alright, so here you can put the number you want. I'm going to use 6 because I want a hexagonal shape for my mineral. Alright, now let's press tab for going to the edit mode, press G, set, and while pressing Ctrl, I can move this object in increments of 1 unit, which is the size of our grid. This way, I can just place the bottom of this object touching the floor. So now in case I scale it, it will scale from the floor, which is where the pivot point is placed. So now I can select the top face, move it up, E to extrude like this, and Alt-M to collapse. So now we have the basic shape of our mineral. Now I can select edge loops by pressing Alt and right click. Okay, so like this or like this. So you don't have to be selecting each vertex individually. You can just select the whole loop. Move it up a little, select this one, scale it down, add a subdivision here by pressing Ctrl R. Dragging into the edges that we want to divide, and now we can drag and left click to apply. Scale it down a little, move it down. Okay, so this will be the basic shape of our mineral. Now I need to duplicate this a number of times around to give it more crystal appearance. So let's move this here, let's scale it down a little like this, and just duplicate it around like this. Okay, now I'm going to rotate this once because I don't want them all to be vertical. I want some variation into the rotation, and later we will vary also the scaling, right? So they are not very uniform, because in reality they are more organic. So let's go for it. So start by rotating this one like this one like this, right from the view, by pressing R, this way, this way, this way, and this way. So now we have our minerals looking to the outside. Let's go to the top view and adjust them a little, so they are growing from the bottom of the big one. Approximately, we don't need it to be very exact. All right, so now I can go ahead and keep duplicating these ones, rotating them from the top. So if these ones are aligned like this, these ones should be aligned like this, right? To make a radial shape around this object. Okay. So let's delete this layer. Okay. And these ones should be smaller, something like this. Okay, this one here, just move it a little. I won't worry too much about getting this perfect or very good looking, because the purpose of this tutorial is to show you the materials and all the process in general, and not these particular details of modeling. So now I'm just dragging this out a little like this. Okay. All right. And now I can just go ahead and add some of this at the bottom. This depends a lot on the amount of time you want to spend on this task. The more time you spend, the better it will look, of course. Okay, here there is a little trick that I'm not using at all, but I want to tell you because I'm not using it because later I will align everything to the floor. But you can just duplicate something. You can move it on the X and Y axis, okay, constraining the Z axis by just pressing Shift while you click on the Z axis. So as you can see, we have the lines for the X and Y axis. So you can now slide it through the floor and the Z axis of the object won't be affected. Now you can release the Shift key and it will keep moving, because if now you press Shift again, it will be moved precisely, all right, with the precision movement, which is something that I love about Blender. All right, so I can duplicate, move it like this, and repeat the process several times. You can do it also from the keyboard. Okay, you can press G, Shift Z, and you can move it in the X and Y axis. So it's pretty handy. And finally, another little trick is that while you're moving with G, you can just press the middle mouse button and you will see that line defining the direction in which I'm dragging the mouse. Okay, so the closer axis for that line will define the axis in which the object will move. So you can see if I drag it here, it will be moved in the Y axis. If I drag it like this, in the Z axis, and like this in the X axis. These are little things that not everyone knows. But Blender has a lot of little details like that. And some of them are pretty cool, and for some people, they are very, very useful. Okay, so something like this. Okay, I think this is enough. So now what I want to do is to just start playing a little with the scaling of these objects. So to keep it a little more organic. Okay, later we are going to play more with them. Okay, something like this, just some variation to the scale. Like this, okay. Okay, so we could keep working on this a lot, but I will give it for done, right, for this test, because I want to show you the materials and all that stuff. So the first thing that I want to do with this is to just select all of them like this, select the center one as the last one. Well, first of all, I want to align all of them to the floor. So let's go to the front view with one in the numpad. And you can see that some of them are a little offset, right, under the floor. So what I want is to align all of them in the floor. So the 3D cursor is aligned to the floor right now. So let's press dot in the keyboard to move everything from the 3D cursor. You can also change the pivot point here to the 3D cursor. And now, if I press S and Z, you can see that we scale everything on Z, and while that objects go closer to the floor, I'm also deforming all the mesh, and I don't want that. So what I want is to activate this option here, which is manipulate center points. All right, so if we activate this, we are only going to affect the center of the object, right? We'll move the object, but the object itself won't be deformed. So if I press S, you can see this cool effect we get, right? If I rotate them, we also get the same, right? Which is kind of cool. And we can do some pretty cool effects with this. But what I want now is to go to the front view, press S, set, and now only the centers will be scaled. So press 0, so they align to 0, and enter. So now all these objects are aligned to the floor. Now the next step is to press Ctrl J, and all of these objects are now part of the same mesh, okay, which will make it easier to modify this object, because now I'm going to add some more organic shape to this, and I'm going to do it by activating here the proportional editing, or just pressing O in the keyboard. So now if I press G by selecting a vertex, I can move more vertices around with just one movement, which will make it easier to do some kind of effects. Also with the middle mouse button, well, with the scroll wheel, you can increase or decrease the effect of the fall off. You can see that circle there and how it increases or decreases the effect. Okay, so something like this, something like this. Right, just make it a little organic, because it's too rigid right now. And well, the crystal is rigid, but I like some more organic shape. So this depends on you, of course, how you like it. Okay, so I think something like this could be enough. And maybe I don't like a lot this point, how it's here. Like this. Okay. So now we have our material, our mineral, sorry. So let's first call it mineral, so we know which object we are talking about. I used to have this little panel on top of everything here. So the first I see on the top is the name of the object, like that. All right, you can drag these panels by left clicking on that little corner that it has that diagonal lines, and here I want to call it like mineral. All right, so now this is a mineral. So let's save the process, and file, save as, let's call it mineral. Okay, now it's time to create the floor. So let's press 7 to go to the top view. Well, I'm just going to the top view to create these objects because I have in the, well, I'm scaling this and it's not scaling because I still have activated this option here. So deactivate it, and now we can scale objects normally. So what I wanted to tell you is that with Ctrl-Alt-U, we go to the user preferences. And here in the interface, in the editing, I have here the new objects to be aligned to the view. All right, so usually if you are like this, by default in Blender, the plane will create with this orientation. All right, but for me, as I have this option, it will be created from the view. That's why for creating the plane of the floor, I went to the top view. All right, just so you don't get crazy why I'm going to the top view before creating stuff. Okay, so let's scale this a little. Well, this is pretty much. Okay, something like this. Right, it depends on the scene you want to create. For now, for me, it's not very big because we are going to be watching the scene from here, more or less. Actually, let's position the camera already. So this is kind of the shot that I want. So let's press Ctrl-Alt-0 in the numpad, and there we have our camera. Of course, the camera is not very well aligned. The mineral is not fitting in the frame. So what I need to do is to press G, and as the camera is now in the Y-axis, let's press Y and just drag it so we get it farther from the mineral. So we already have our camera placed. Now this plane will be called floor. There we go. Let's put this here so we can access all the objects. Maybe I won't use it, but just in case. So we have this, and the next thing we want to do is I want to hide that panels with T and N. And now let's create a modifier here in the modifier panels and add a multi-resolution modifier. Let's go to the edit mode, select everything with A, press W, click on subdivide, and now from the T panel here, we can select the options for this operator, or we can just press F6, which will pop up the options for the last operator we used. So here we have the number of cuts, and let's set it to something like this, 6. Okay, here we have another little options, and right here to make some noise with it. But well, maybe I could give some use to this one. Yeah, let's make it with that noise. All right, press enter, go out from that view. And yes, because I want this to be some kind of a terrain, so this undulation is going to come pretty handy. But it's probably too much right now, so what I want to do is to select everything, press S, set, and scale it down a little so it's more slight. Right, so there is still some noise there, but not too much. Okay, now in the multi-res, let's go here and click subdivide a couple of times. I actually want to see here what I'm doing. Right, let's click here simple because I don't want the borders to be smooth. Let's go here to the object panel, and here in the display, let's click on draw all edges. All right, so now if I go to the wireframe, I can see all the edges, because otherwise you can see that some of them, in this case we are seeing them because I use that noise. All right, so it's not planar, but if we have a pure plane, we won't see anything. All right, because the planar faces are not shown in the wireframe. So if we activate draw all edges, you can see that we can see everything. Right, so with this we can see more or less the amount of divisions we are giving to the plane, and I need something more. So let's divide it like this. Okay, this should be enough. So with this, let's go again to the solid mode, and here let's go to the sculpt mode. And wow, it's moving a little crazy, the camera. All right, so now we can just press T to have here the options of the sculpt. Let's increase the strength to 1, and I can just start playing here with this brush. Okay, just getting crazy with it. But as I want to create some kind of terrain, it's okay. Okay, something like that. Now let's go to the object mode, move it down a little, so to make sure that all the mineral is getting is over the plane, all right, and not like this. Because now we are going to make the interaction between the floor and the mineral by pulling some sand. Let's say the floor is made of sand. Let's make some sand go into the mineral. All right, so let's pick the grab. And with F here, well, we can actually go here to the radius and change it. But here in the viewer, with F, we can increase or decrease the size. Left click to accept. And now we can just drag, click and drag. So I want to make the floor to be a little, to interact a little with the mineral. You could use the pen for this, the pen tablet. I have it here, but well, as it's something really simple, I'm not using it. So let's go to the camera to see what we are seeing, and this is what we would see from the camera, which is pretty good. Okay, so now what I can do is to go out from the sculpt mode. Let's go to the object mode, and let's add some more undulation to the floor. All right, so let's go here and add displace modifier. And now you can see that we have a really cool sky. So let's create a floor again. No, I'm just joking. This is just that the effect is like crazy, and for now it doesn't have really a texture into it. Let's create a new texture and let's call it displace. All right, so here let's decrease the strength because is, as you can see, really high. Okay, so let it be like something very slight, like 0.020. Okay, and now let's go here to the textures panel, and instead of create a new one, let's go to the pop-up and pick the displace because we want to tweak this texture a little. So let's go here and decrease the size because we want something like this. Let's increase it a little, decrease it until we get something more or less. Okay, something like this could be okay. So select the floor and click here in the T panel, smooth, because we want this to be smooth, and so this way we can see it a little better. So something like this is not bad, because now it's even if it's a little spiky here, we can go to the modifiers, and over this displace I can just add a subdivision surface to smooth it out a little. So let's go to the displace and just, instead of 0.02, let's put 0.01. Let's see what we have. So as you can see, this is the effect without the displacement. This is with the displacement. And we can go even farther and decrease it a little more. So we have some more noise in the floor. Okay, we could probably do this with a normal map or something like that, but I like it this way. Okay, so the light will affect better the surface. So save this one again. And it's time to start playing with the materials. So the first thing I want to do is to the render to be a little faster. Let's pick the floor, and here let's pick for the render. It will be 1 only, but I will disable this in the viewer. Okay, and with the displays also don't show it in the viewer, and the multi-res also, well, show it, but here we can set that the render will be the level 5, but the preview could be the level 3, because this one affects us a lot for seeing how everything works, but it will be faster, a lot faster to refresh in the view to work in real time. Okay, so let's save this. And now let's start playing with materials. So let's turn on cycles. Let's go here to Blender Render and apply cycles render. Now let's go here to the viewer, viewport shading, and select rendered. So this is basically what we have. Okay, let's just divide this window, and let's press Control, click here and drag it here. This will swap our viewers. Okay, and well, it didn't made what I wanted. So just to show you what I wanted to show you, if you have two different types of panels here of windows, you can just press here, and instead of dragging or whatever, okay, instead of doing something like this to merge or split the view, you can press Control and drag. So you will get that little icon there, and it will swap your panels, your viewers, sorry, wow, your windows or whatever. But in this case, I just wanted two 3D views, one to work in it and this one to render. like this. Okay, so this will be our camera. Let's go here to render and set it to GPU. This depends on your computer, right? I prefer to work on GPU because it's faster for me. Okay, now I'm only going to change the resolution to this and 720, okay? And also do it 50%. Well, yeah, it's okay for now. Okay, and now let's go to the sampling. And here in the render, I want more samples already, like 500. And here in the preview, I want like 100. Right? This also depends on your computer or what you want to achieve. In this case, as I know more or less what I'm going to achieve, I just put here, I just increased a lot the amount of samples. All right, so now I want this light to be from this side, like that. And I want it to be stronger. So let's go here, activate use nodes, and let's increase a lot the strength. Something like that. Let's also, well, let's keep it on white for now. And here in the size, let's increase it because I want the shadow to be smooth. So as you can see now, the shadow is pretty smooth. And if we keep increasing this, it's even smoother. Okay, let's go again to the camera with 0 in the numpad. And here is what we have. So first, let's create a little very simple material to the floor. Let's go here to materials, add a new material, and this will be called floor. Okay, and this will be just a diffuse color, a brownish color, something like this. Okay, for now, let's keep it like this. And now we need a color for our background, our sky. So if we go here, we can activate use nodes, and instead of gray, let's go here and apply, let's see, a sky texture, right? So we have already some sky, and it's already providing some illumination information to the scene. So I want to do something like this. Let's play with this a little. Increase the turbidity, decrease the strength, because I want it to be something like the sunset or something like that. So we can just play with this a little. Okay, let it be like this for now. So now I need to save this again. Yeah, I saved pretty often. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and start playing with the materials of the mineral. So here, instead of a 3D view, we don't need it anymore, this one, because now we only need to see what we are doing with this mineral, right? So place it like this. Let's go here and go to the node editor. Okay, so here we are in the material node editor, all right? Make sure that you are here in the materials and not in the compositor or anything else. So let's press N to hide that panel. And here is where we are going to start playing with this material. So let's think a little about it. Let's first select the mineral, and let's go to the materials and add a new one called mineral. All right, so what we need is some kind of glass that emits light. All right, this is what I want to achieve. So I'm going to start by the light emission feature of this material. So let's go here, and I want this to be orange, right? Because I like orange. And I'm gonna use something like that. So this color should be nice. Okay, and let's actually put this material output farther away because we will need some space. And what I want to do is to mix this diffuse with some emission features in the material. So let's create another shader, emission shader, and we want to mix these two together. So let's press another Shift A, another shader, and a mix shader. Drag it onto that connection and place this here. So this is not exactly what I want, right? Here, what we are doing is to, if it's in 1, it's only showing the emission material, and if it's in 0, it's only showing the diffuse material, right? This input here is 0, this input here is 1, and the values in the middle are like transition between them. What we need is to define what we want the material to emit light. So there is a way here which is very cool, which is applying a conditional in the input light path. Let's go here, and here we have some information to give the material to how to apply some of these materials. Okay, so I'll explain it later. If it's diffuse ray, let's plug it in here. And this is more like what we want. So basically what we have here is a shader that has a diffuse material and an emission material. And this option here, right, the factor is defined by this option here. So in this case, it's showing the emission material if the ray that we are receiving is diffuse. So what this means is that if a ray of light comes into the object and bounces to another diffuse layer or surface, it will be treated as if the material was an emission. All right, and for the rest of the material, it will show the diffuse material. So this is a pretty complex, but I hope you understood it, because we are going to use this a lot in this tutorial. All right, so now I can play with this, and I can just add some color here. The strength is 1. And now I want to add some glass to this material. Okay, so let's go ahead, apply a shader, mix shader. Let's turn it here. And now, as you can see, it got darker because now we are mixing this mix shader that we created before with nothing. All right, so this is black completely. So if we increase this amount, we get completely black material, which is not exactly what we want. So let's add another shader, and let's pick here a glass shader. Let's place it here, plug it in here, and now if we start adding here, we can see some of the glass effect already. Something like that. Let's make it orange also, something like that. And we can decrease this, and we can increase here the strength of the illumination. You can see how it affects the floor and everything. So let's here increase this a little to have more glass. Okay, and now I want to even give more power to the glass. So let's create another mix shader. Let's add another glass, which is just duplicated this one with Shift D, plug it here. And now I'm going to tell Blender that only to apply this glass material on top of everything if the ray is glossy, right? Because from this shader here, from this mix shader, we have some part that are glass, okay? So we have some glossy surfaces in the model. So let's add an input, light path, plug it here. And I'm sorry if you are not understanding this a lot, because this is pretty tricky and it's kind of difficult to explain, and also English is not my native language, so it's a pretty difficult, but this is some kind of a condition, all right? And it will represent this layer or this layer from the mix shader depending on this condition, right? So you can probably learn something from this tutorial, all right? So here what I want is that if it's a glossy ray, which is a reflective ray or something glossy, which the glass shader has glossy and transmission properties, right? A glossy material, glossy shader only has glossy, a diffuse has diffuse, and all that. Okay, so if it's glossy, let's put it here, and now you can see that the parts that are illuminated and with diffuse are the same as before, but the parts that has some glass on it now are more glassy. And this is exactly what I want. So we can now play with this amount here to get more illumination. So as you can see, if I go to 0 here, we have no gloss or glass at all. Everything is diffuse. So we can keep increasing this until we are happy. Here, if we put 1, it's only glass. And if we go to 8 or 0.5, we get something more likely what we want. And we can also increase this one. Right, so this is getting interesting. Now, let's complicate it a little more, even more. We can go ahead and here for this emission, we can play with this a little. And let's try. I'm not really sure that it would work, but let's try. We can pick a mix shader here. Right, we have the emission. Let's add another emission so you can see what I'm talking about. And now let's add another light path. Place it here. And in this case, I'm going to pick the ray length. So there we go. Now here the second material, second shader will be blue. And here you have a pretty strange stuff. But this is exactly what I wanted to show you. What this is doing basically is to use the ray length to define if the color is this one or this one. So as you can see, first it emits orange light or yellow light, but then as the ray length is higher, is bigger, it emits blue light. The same happens here. And this is pretty interesting, but I don't want this, of course. But we can play with this, right? We can copy colors here by putting the cursor over it, pressing Ctrl C and Ctrl B here. So now we can play with this a little. Right, I'm getting some stuff there. Let's put this on 0. So now this is completely black because this is not ready for this. What I need to do is to also this here, the ray length is just a number that is input here in the factor. So I can just add a converter here, math, put it here, and I can now select here a mode like add or subtract or multiply, whatever, and just plug this here. And by changing this color, by changing this value, I can increase or decrease a lot the effect of this emission because now I'm like adding this value to the ray length. So let's say the ray length is 1, so I'm adding just 34.2 to that number. So here is a higher factor. So let's just decrease it. As you can see, if it's negative, it is giving a negative effect in the color. So let's go to something. So here you can see it is negative emission, mostly when it's very close. And that is because in the first input, we have nothing. So this is black color. Okay, so that is why it's black. So if we are on 0, it has almost no effect in the proximities of where the light is emitted. But we can start increasing this and get the effect that we want. You can also increase this. And I think this is enough. So, well, I could keep playing a lot with this. Okay, it's pretty funny. Here we can also change some colors to give a more interesting effect here. But, well, you can see that we can change absolutely how it looks. Let's give it orange And let's actually copy this color with Control C, Control V, and Control V. And we could play with the index of refraction, the roughness, or everything, but I want to make this tutorial very, very long, right? Because I think that you already learned something about the great potential of the cycled materials. They allow us to create very interesting effects like these ones, and we can keep playing with them as long as we want to create exactly what we need or what we like or whatever, right? So here, for example, I could just do something more. Let's play with it. This is not working exactly how I expect it to be, but so as you can see now, what I made here is almost accidentally, because I actually didn't know exactly what I was doing, is that in the proximities of where the light is emitted, there is more light, while here we have more fall off, right? The fall off affects the light when it's closer to the mineral. Before, the light was almost to the borders of the frame, and now it's only where the mineral is, which is something more likely what I want. Okay, if I decrease this to 0, I can get almost no difference, right? Well, somehow it's applying a difference. Well, I guess it is because we have this value negative, which is kind of interesting. But well, it's a matter of play with this, okay? Because probably the ray length is a high number, like 10 or so, and so here we are just subtracting like 4.2 from that amount. So the factor is probably behaving a little strange. I'm not sure about that, okay? I'm not an expert into that matter, and this is a kind of a technical stuff. I only know that if you add here a math node, you can play with it, and spontaneously you will get something that you like. Okay, also you can get something like this, and you can even play with this a little farther. Okay, so here, as you can see, if I play with this value, we can get more or less illumination. So let's put in 2, for example, and okay, I will stop playing with it. I like it already how it is. So now I will take a quick render with more samples, because keep in mind that this is a material that will give a lot of noise, right? Because there is emission and there is glass, which are the shaders that are more difficult to get noise free, right? So we will get a lot of noise and speckles and weird stuff. And also we are playing with very high values of emission here, going through transmission in the glass. Well, it's a crazy material, so it's very difficult to get it right without any noise. But we will get to clean a little of that noise later in the compositing. So I'm gonna take a quick render and come back when the render is done. Let's just make sure that I set it up. Let's save the scene. There we go. And just press F12. Oh, just a little thing that I just forgot. Here I can go to performance, and probably I mentioned it in another tutorial, but I'm going to repeat it because this is pretty important. If I'm using GPU, depending on your computer, your graphics card, or whatever, here changing the size of the tiles is pretty important. I can tell you that you probably want to change this in power of 2 numbers. In my case, the number that works better is 256 times 256. And I can tell you that it's almost the double faster, 2 times faster than the original default value of 64, right? So this is pretty important. And now, yes, well, another little thing that I forgot a lot of things. Uh, here in layers, we want to go ahead and activate here normal. And you'll see later why we are going to use this one. So now I think everything is fine. Let's save it, press F12, and I will come back when the render is done. Great, so here we have our render. So as you can see, there is quite noise here, and we also have some speckles, alright? So this is cool because I want to show you some little filters. Here we have another speckle. This is noise, but well, arranging a little the material so it's not so emissive. This is mainly because of that mix I did, that crazy mix of with the ray length and the two emissions thing. So I get a lot of noise. So increasing the samples or tweaking a little the material, we could get rid of this noise. All right, but well, that is not so visible. All right, but these speckles here, we are going to clean them. And also this noise, we can probably clean it, not perfectly, but a lot. Okay, so let's go to the compositor. Okay, activate use nodes. Let's go for it. Actually, let's go here to make sure that this is not rendering while we work in the compositor. Let's press here to pause it. So now we can go here, activate the backdrop. And if I press Ctrl Shift click, it will automatically create a viewer node for me. Alright, so the first thing I want to do is to arrange that little speckles. Okay, these dots here. So basically what happens in that dots is that the color, instead of going, let's say that if the colors are in the range of 0 to 1, these are because of emission problems or whatever. These are like 100 or something like this. So they appear completely out of place. So press Shift A and we are going to create a filter. And here we have the despeckle node. Let's drag it here. And you can see they already disappeared. So to see the before and after, let's click on the despeckle node and press M. So here in this area, you can see how they just disappear. So what the speckle nodes does is detect the pixels that are in a color range out of the normal and replace them with the neighbor colors, all right? Here at the bottom, if you can see this little dot there, also disappears, which is pretty nice. So we are going to start working from that despeckle instead from the image, all right? Because we now have the correct image here. Now, the next thing I want to do is to reduce a little this noise. Okay, so let's go ahead, pick the filter. Let's go to bilateral blur and apply it right here. And you can see that it got crazy. So what we need to do is to apply a determinator here, which will tell Blender the shape of the object so it can the noise departs model by model, face by face, and not just blur all the image. So usually it's a little more complex, like mixing the set and normal, but for now we're going to see how it works with the normal only. And you can see that it got a lot better, right? So we are getting some complications here and everything, but what I'm gonna do is to decrease this a lot and decrease this a lot also. So we don't have so much blur as before. We get still a little noise, but it's much cleaner than the original one. Because if we press M here to see the before and after, you can see that we get much less noise. Okay, here in these areas, but we are also losing some of the features of the image. So what I'm gonna do is to just Shift A, create a color mix, and I'm gonna mix this these two photos. Sorry, it's not the original one, it's this speckle one, Right, actually, let's organize this a little. Let's put these two, select the two of them, and press Ctrl J. So now we have this frame here. Press N, and we can go select the frame, and we can go here, and in the label, let's put image source. All right, so now we know that these two nodes are part of the image, and we have this one. All right, now here, if we click here, we have the factoring one, so we are only watching this node. Okay, if we press M, we can see the before and after the mix. So let's just decrease it to 0 and start increasing it until we are happy with the mix between the two. So something between the two will allow us to, get rid of some of the noise while keeping the features of the original image. So if we press M, you can see that we clean some of the noise, but we still have most of the features of the image, which is something like what we want. Okay, so these two guys here, Ctrl J, and this will be, let's go here and press the noise. All right, so these two nodes are the noise. Now we need to play a little with the image. And I want to add some glow, add a vignette effect, some color correction, some cool stuff. I love compositing. So let's Shift A, and here add some RGB curves. And I'm going to tell later why I'm going to do this. Probably at the beginning you are starting to get a little crazy watching what I'm going to do. So I want to do something like this. Okay, which is pretty unuseful at this point. And now I want to press Shift A, add a filter, blur, place it here, activate relative, because when we activate relative, it's not an amount of pixels, because then if we change, if it's not relative, this will define a number of pixels, right? Like 2 pixels. The problem is that if we increase the size of the render, it will still make the blur in 2 pixels, and that won't work as we expected it to work when we were working on this compositor. So if you activate relative, it will take a % of the render size. Okay, so if later we render this in full HD, it will still work as expected. So let's do something crazy like this. Now let's Shift A, Control Color, Mix, and what we are going to do is to add the image on the top and this one that we created on the bottom. And here instead of Mix, we press Add. So now we have some brightness there, right? Which is exactly what I want. Now I can just make this smaller. Right, something like that. Okay, something like that. Smaller. Okay, and now we can just get the factor, tweak the factor a little to increase or decrease the amount of brightness that we want. Okay, and what I can do now is to actually here just duplicate this blur, plug this image into it. So basically we get an alternative blur that will be a little bigger. Duplicate this add mix node and let's plug this like this. So now we can start playing with this and make a little higher blur, something like that. And decrease the factor here because we want this to be more subtle. All right, something like that is cool. Okay, so here with B, we can select all these nodes, press Ctrl J, oh, sorry, Control J, and we can get rid of these ones by pressing H. Let's put the RGB curves like here, these two guys here, and there we go. So this will be bright lens flare. It's not actually a lens flare, but well, almost. Okay, so after all this, what I want to do is to add here an RGB curves and make some color correction. So let's add some contrast. Let's increase the blue channel. Well, just increase it. Yeah, we can play with it as we want. Decrease the green channel. Maybe increase the red channel a little. Decrease it to see how it affects the image. Okay, something like that. Let's test before and after. Okay, yes, I like this one better. Okay, and after this, we can just go ahead and add a mix color, mix node. And here we are going to do something pretty interesting. Let's plug the image on top, and here instead of white, let's pick a black color. And what we will do is to add a shape, a mask here, an elliptical mask with matte ellipse mask. And from here, let's put it into factor. And here we have this. We are masking the image on top. Sorry. The image on top, and the black is behind it. So now we just need to zoom this out with V. You can zoom in with Alt V and zoom out with V in the keyboard. And let's just increase this until we get something close to the borders and also the height. Okay, something like that. But now this is not very cool. What we need to do is to go ahead and add a blur filter to this, to blur this image. So let's press relative and let's just increase it quite a lot. And Y also, something like that. So let's see what we have before, after. So we have a pretty cool vignette effect here. So after this, I think we are done. We can just go ahead, put these three guys, Control J, select the frame and put here vignette. Drag this here. And here we have our composite node, which is the most important one. We need to plug this there. And with all this done, we have our little tree, our little compositing tree. Let's just save this. Control Shift S plus in the numpad, so we can decrease or increase the version. As you can see, I have here 0.6, but with less, minus or plus, we can increase or decrease the version. So it's this one. There we go. And now we can already start playing with this. Okay, I mean playing with this. Not actually. I already played with this a lot. Now we can just render it, animate a camera, and add probably some depth of field. So this part here is a little blurred. And well, we already have our effect here. It's pretty cool. Probably there are another method to do it. I'm sure there is another method to do it that doesn't generate so much noise. Okay, but well, in this case, I think that you probably learned already that the materials in cycles are very, very powerful. You have a lot of options with them, and you can play with them as long as you want, right? There are an infinity of options you can achieve there. So I hope you liked it. See you next week in the next tutorial, because as you probably already saw, from now on I will create weekly tutorials. So see you soon and happy blending.